Hey y'all! Well, it's going to show y'all my new tape deck now that I got it all dialed in. And it's a Otari MX5050. I got it from one of the local audio club members that wanted to sell this to get him a Revox deck. And yeah, that's all great. You know, folks that can afford $10,000, $12,000 rebuilt high-end decks, but I was happy to take this one off his hands. And this one's had a lot of work done to it and a lot of customization by different folks. So the guy he got it from had done a bunch of upgrades to it, and they had replaced the fixed arms, like these arms here that have little roller bearings on them now. They were just a fixed piece of metal with a groove in it that the tape slid across the metal. And it's been upgraded with arms that have threaded shafts on them that have these little flanged pulleys that are all ball bearings that spin instead of the tape just dragging across it, which obviously is a nice upgrade. It's got the new pinch roller that I just did a video on. I'll put the link below where I got that from. It's got the tape head out jacks installed in the back, and the previous owner had those done, as well as having the last head replaced with a flux magnetic aftermarket head and all, you know, aligned and everything to work with the deck. So this deck actually has 4 heads. It's got a race head, it's got a 4-track head, it's got a 2-track head, and then it's got another 2-track playback only head, which is where the flux magnetic head was installed, which is an aftermarket playback head. And that last head is the one that's run to the tape out. And so the other heads are still running to the stock electronics. So you can use the 4-track or the 2-track head to play back through the factory electronics, which I haven't played with yet. I just got this thing all dialed in on the tape head out jacks over the last couple of weeks, and I need to get the XLR connections all figured out. You've seen me doing some XLR transformers from Holger at Earnhardt Audio, and I need to figure out a way to get balanced out of my phono preamp so I can do some recording on this deck and see how that sounds. It's an interesting deck. When you look under this cover here, it's got a 2-track or a 4-track switch, so you can switch between which one of these extra heads you're using. So you can play 4-track and 2-track tapes on this deck, which is a cool feature. And it's all balanced in and out except for the tape head outs or RCA, because tape heads are single-ended. But this was designed as a professional deck to be used in a studio environment. That's why everything's balanced and there's no single-ended outputs on it. And it came with a bottlehead tube tape head preamp, which I've done some tube rolling on and played with the setup. That's why I went with the balanced cables on the input of my 2A3 amp, so I can run the balanced out from the bottlehead, since the balanced out is a little hotter signal and it gives the input drive that my 2A3 amp needs. And guys, this thing sounds fantastic. And I don't mind sharing, I paid just a little over $4,000 for the whole setup, which I think is a good deal. He showed me the receipt where it was over $1,000 to have that head installed and that bottlehead tube preamp, which are really rare. It's not the little kit one, it's the Pro Repro version that they used to sell. Those were over $4,000, you know, a decade ago, and they're pretty rare. And so I didn't feel bad, especially given this was like a good to go, you know, ready to use product. The sides panels were in a little rough shape, and it also came with this big roll around stand that was made to hold this deck, where you could rotate it, level, flat with the reels facing up or all that kind of stuff. And it had another little shelf down below that was custom made that held the preamp, which honestly was too big right now to use in my room. In the future, I may end up using it when I redo my listening room, which was in another video I'm talking about doing. I may go back to using that stand. But I had my woodworker friend make these beautiful black stained oak sides for it, which really dressed it up. And the originals were like vinyl covered particle board, and yeah, not all that. I do want to find a way to put some kind of like maybe a little cloth baffle or something in these grips here in the side so you don't see the electronics looking in. I haven't kind of figured out what I'm going to do with that. I was going to put some of those little door pull handle like you use on pocket doors in the side, but none of the ones I saw really had enough grip for carrying it. And it's nice to have these handles, which you can't really see it. Let me see if I can turn this around where you can see it. These little pockets here that you can pick the tape deck up with. And I think too, now you can see how nice this black stained oak looks with the grain texture. I think that turned out really nice. And it really kind of elevated it to a nicer looking piece. And again, I've been listening to these 2-track 15 IPS, new tapes they've been coming out with. Rhino's released a couple, and there's other ones at Acoustic Sounds, the Ultra Tape, I think they call them. And yeah, they're expensive, but they sound so good. And I went down that rabbit hole. I know this is kind of a crazy thing that not many audiophiles, even on the higher echelon kind of systems, people just don't feel like going down this route. I've always thought reel-to-reel tape was super cool, and I've always wanted a nice deck, and so here we are. So now that I know that this, with the bottle head connected to my XLRs and all that stuff, sounds so good, I want to play around more with a tape head preamp I got from Earnhardt Audio, and I've been talking to Holger. He's coming up with a new board that has XLR outs that can be changed from 1x to 2x depending on how much output you need. And I may be sending it back to him to get these upgraded XLR connections done to my preamp. And I've also got the one that I was DIY building. And I'm not sure that out of the box that one's going to have enough gain. And we may have to add one more stage of amplification on the output and then have it driving some XLR jacks. And so if I do a tape head preamp, it's probably going to be a more deluxe version than just that simple little modified board. It does sound good, it just doesn't have enough gain. And so I'm having to run the volume like wide open. And so I think it needs, I don't want to tell people you've got to use a preamp to boost the gain of it. It should have that internally. And so we may be adding a little circuitry to the output to drive the XLR cables and do that deal. But that's in the future. I also want to try swapping my Tascam deck that I modified to tape head out now into this bottle head and see what that sounds like. So we've got some more reel-to-reel playing around to do, but I just wanted to kind of share with you now. I've got this setup now that sounds just fantastic. So I've got a good reference now to know what a really good tape out preamp reel-to-reel deck with a super high-end head sounds like, and then I can compare that to the other things that we do in this whole reel-to-reel stuff. So anyway, probably just keep this video short. Just wanted to share that with you. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this reel-to-reel content, we're going to be doing more of it. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below what your experience has been like with reel-to-reel stuff. I do want to play around with, like I said, doing an XLR out mod to my phono stage so I can run it straight into the record on this deck, so I can take some of these really good sounding 45 RPM records that are kind of a pain to have to get up and change the record every couple of songs, and put those on tape so you can listen to the whole album just hitting play. So I think that might be a worthwhile kind of fun thing to do, transferring those to tape and keep it all analog. So I think this is a good place to wrap it up. Till the next video, have a nice day.